Good morning, everyone. It's Kerry Jeffrey from Emotional Autoimmunity. For those of you who don't know me, I am a clinical hypnotherapist, counsellor and life coach based here in Melbourne, Australia. I work with people with chronic illness all around the world, and I offer therapy-based solutions to the emotional issues that come along with having chronic illness or being diagnosed with chronic illness or living with any sort of chronic illness, whether it is autoimmune or not. So I do these broadcasts every Friday, so it's Friday morning my time on the 21st of February, and I want to talk about the issues that I see as significant in our community and the things that you tell me are significant to you, and those emotional challenges and things that cause you the most issues. And I also do this through my Emotional Autoimmunity podcast that you can subscribe to on iTunes or most other popular podcast players. And I also do it on my website through my blog and, of course, here on my Facebook page. And if you have anything that you would like me to address that's an emotional issue that you'd like me to talk about or write about, please do send me a message, because I'd love to know, because I want what I talk about to be relevant to you and to be helpful to you. So if you happen to be watching, would love you to just jump in the comments now and just tell me that you're online and let me know where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay of this, you can, of course, ask any questions, tag me on the page, and I'll be happy to answer the questions. And I'll also be posting this so you can watch it over at my YouTube channel. So the video will be there also. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is something that can be very triggering for a lot of people, which is hope. And there are a lot of people that I've spoken to who have basically given up hope at all, that their life is going to get any better, or that they can make a difference to anything that's going on with the chronic illness, or that their life is over and they're never going to be the person that they were again. With some people that I talk to about hope, they get very angry. Talking about hope can sometimes feel like you're telling someone that they haven't tried hard enough. That's the way a lot of people can hear it and interpret it. If you try to talk to somebody about hope, then they feel like, well, I've tried everything I can. You're just saying that I'm not trying hard enough, or you're just saying that, I'm not doing all that I can, or you're just saying that I'm giving up. So hope can, as I said, be a very big trigger for a lot of people. And hope has been a very, very important factor in my life with chronic illness over the past almost 6 years. And there's a logical, practical reason for that, because if you've watched me for a while or listened for a while to the things that I talk about and my own personal experience, then hopefully that you'll know that I am an eminently practical person, and I'm always trying to think about things from a logical perspective and a practical perspective as to what's real and what's not real, and what's possible, potentially what's possible, and the things that we don't know. And one of the biggest things that we don't know is we realise when we do become chronically ill that there's so much we don't know about chronic illness. So there's so much that research doesn't know about chronic illness, and there's so much that our doctors don't know about chronic illness. And in many cases, we are the ones trying to educate our doctors about chronic illness to help them get up to speed with all of the knowledge and information we've gained on our own personal experience and our own research. And so why I think that hope is eminently practical is because, well, this is the way I looked at my own situation, right? When I developed Hashimoto's, and I was just adapting until I got to the point that, I got so sick that I couldn't adapt anymore, because I just thought I had a really bad flu. I thought I was really sick with a really bad flu or a virus, and instead of getting better, I was getting worse. And prior to that, all of the symptoms I've been experiencing that I now understand were Hashimoto's, I put down to menopause, and that had been going on for some 3 to 5 years. So it was a very, very slow decline, and I had no idea what was going on. But one of the things that I realised when I walked out of my first doctor's office and he said, "You're just going to have to get used to this. This is your new normal. You're going to have to adapt to it," was that if my body could keep me going with everything that I'd done to it for 55 years at that point, when I hadn't looked after myself, and I'd always had disordered eating. So I was a binge eater, I was a sugar addict, carbohydrate addict, I used to smoke, I used to drink, I used to hate my body because of what I now know was the Hashimoto's. I'd had weight issues since I was a young child. So I've been dieting since I was 9 years old. I've had quite a lot of stress and trauma throughout my life. So basically, if they were writing the profile of somebody that was going to develop chronic illness in the future, then my name should be near the top of that list. So if my body could do everything that it could do to get me to where I was at 55 years old, to achieve what I'd achieved, had 2 children, been a single mother, worked most of my life, studied, got a degree, done further studies. If I could do all of that stuff when I wasn't looking after myself, then what could my body do for me if I actually looked after it? What could my body do if I gave it good, nutritious food, if I actually loved it and appreciated it, if I looked after it, if I respected it, if I listened to it rather than ignoring it or shutting it down? If I did that, then what's possible? What's possible for my body? And that excited me, right? That whole concept that if my body could keep me going to the point where my organs were starting to shut down, and it could still keep me ticking along up until about a 2-week period when I really declined. And the moment that I was sitting on the couch and I actually fell over to the side and I couldn't hold my body upright was when I actually knew, hey, there is something seriously wrong here. And I started having all of the pain. So if you take those 2 factors, that one, we know so little about chronic illness, how it develops, what feeds it. We do know that, of course, stress and inflammation. So stress and inflammation definitely ramp it up and make it worse. And that's why we've always got to work to do everything we can to reduce inflammation. And if you're not including the emotional side of that, if you're not addressing your trauma, if you're not addressing any emotional issues you have, then you are missing out on a very valuable part of healing, because that is going to keep the stress and inflammation levels high. And it doesn't really matter what else you do. If your mind is fueling the inflammation, if your emotions are fueling the inflammation, you've really got to do something about that, right? So most of us, for most of our lives, have eaten our standard diets. Most of us, for most of our lives, are taught that we have to be productive. It's about what you do, not who you are. Most of us are taught that we are not good enough. Most of us are taught to point the fingers back at ourselves and look for the flaws, look for the character defects, look at all the places where we're too much of something or not enough of something, that we're not beautiful enough or thin enough or sexy enough or good enough or kind enough or loving enough or moral enough, or we're always taught to look for the sin if we're religious people, right? So we are taught to look here and look for the faults, look for the flaws. We're always setting ourselves in these high expectations to achieve. We're always measuring ourselves against other people and what they're doing, and that whole compare and despair syndrome. Most of the things we do in life, starting from when we're at school academically, is competitive. We're always trying to be better. Even when you become a parent or a mother, you're always comparing yourself to other mothers. And, motherhood can be a very, very competitive place where people are very willing to criticize and pull you down. most of the food that we consume is prepackaged and, you know, full of preservatives and colorings and things like that, because, you know, busy life, we're busy running around and we're busy doing things, and we're busy, you know, trying to prove ourselves to people, and we're busy trying in our careers, and we're busy doing things with the kids. And so it's this fast-paced, stressful, competitive, blame yourself, high expectation, compare and despair. You know, our lifestyle is what's wrong. The standard lifestyle and what we ate and any other cofactors, how we were raised, how we think about the world, any traumas that we have, like all of these things contribute to the development of chronic illness. And so it's really like our world with, you know, the pollution and all of the hormones and everything going into the water, like everything is set up to help us become sick. So while it's not our fault that we have chronic illness, right? We didn't do anything to deserve it, and really it's surprising that not more of us have it. And it is happening because, you know, it is an epidemic and more people are getting diagnosed with this. Then, you know, once you've got it, you've got to do something about it. Once you've got it, you have to do something about it. There's nothing else that anybody can do to help you really accept yourself. And that's, I think, the biggest lesson and one of the hardest things. And that's why it's so hard to have hope, right? Because when you get chronic illness and you're told that this is it, and you're given whatever medical advice it is that you're given, which generally is not very helpful at all, and you walk out the door and you realize that it's up to you, that you have to be your own advocate, you have to be your own researcher, you have to be the one to make all of the changes, you have to be the one to set all these new boundaries. There is so much that falls back on us that it can feel overwhelming, and it's easy to not even hope that things can get better, because the burden of doing all of that and having to do all of that when you feel so unwell and you have so little energy and your mind is not working properly and your brain is not functioning, it's no wonder that people just think there is no hope. Because if these doctors out there with all of this education can't help me, then how can I help myself? How could I possibly help myself? And one of the interesting things that I find when I talk to people in my free discovery sessions, and there's a question that I ask everybody, which is, if I had a magic wand and I could tap you on the head right now and say to you, we finished the work together, we've done our program, and you have got exactly what you wanted, and you are now feeling exactly how you want to feel. Most people can't tell me how they want to feel. Most people will tell me how they don't want to feel. So they will say things like, I don't want to feel so stressed, and I don't want to be feeling grief, and I don't want to have any more trauma, and I don't want to be crying all the time, and I don't want to be angry anymore, and I don't want to feel so hopeless and so helpless. Very few people, perhaps 1 in 100, will say to me, I want to feel more in control of my life, I want to feel more confident, I want to feel more positive, I want to feel more hopeful, I want to feel like that I've taken charge in this, I want to feel like my life is getting better. So part of having hope is being able to imagine that you can feel better and that things can get better, and that you will be able to set yourself a goal in the future, that there are things that you can still do, that there are things that your body can still overcome. And with hope comes trust, right? That just trust that if you do things consistently, and that if you give your body exactly what it needs, and if you focus on what it is that you want to feel, if you focus on whatever little joys in the day you can find, if you focus on things that you can appreciate, then life can feel better and you will feel better. And I know me just saying that is going to trigger a lot of people, that are watching, and they're thinking, don't be ridiculous. How can I have gratitude for anything? Don't you understand? I'm in all of this pain, and I'm bedridden, and I can't live my life anymore, and I can't do these things. And that's just a ridiculous thing to say. And what I want to say to you about that is this, that I get to work with a whole lot of people, and I'm privileged to do that, who are in a whole lot of different positions, in a whole lot of different circumstances, with a whole lot of different illnesses, some of which are terminal. And in every situation, even with somebody who's in a bed, being tube fed, barely able to stand or get out of bed, we have been able to come up with ways that that person can find some hope and some meaning in their life and some things that they can appreciate, and they can turn down their anxiety, and they can get rid of their trauma, and they can stop being so hypervigilant about their body and only focused on what's happening in their body, so that every moment is not spent going, oh my God, what's that? What's that? Is that going to be that pain again? Is that going to be going on? Do I need to go to the hospital? Is my blood pressure going up? Is my feeding tube blocked? Is that going on? Is that going on? Right? To get them out of that constant stress response, that fight, flight, or freeze, into being able to be in the present moment and find some things that they can find hope in, they can find comfort in, they can find enjoyment, they can find gratitude, they can find some peace, they can find some appreciation, and they can still find things that make their life feel like it's worth living. And then that gives them hope that they are going to have moments where things are going to feel good, no matter if they're in a wheelchair, no matter if they're in a bed, no matter if they're in a couch, no matter if they're disabled, no matter what it is. When you don't have hope, it's very easy to go into despair, right? And you don't know what is possible for you. Nobody knows what is possible for you. There is no expert in the world that can tell you what is possible for you. And if I didn't have hope, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now. I would be living with my father and not working still, and still disabled, and still highly anxious, and still traumatized, and still all of those things that I was 5 years ago. It was that hope, right, a possibility, that practical application, that we don't know what is possible. And when you change things, when you are willing to change things, and you're willing to do things differently, and you're willing to listen to your body, and you're willing to nurture yourself, and you're willing to set boundaries for yourself, and you are willing for the first time in your life to put yourself first, to make yourself a priority, to stop anticipating everybody else's emotional needs, to stop doing for everybody else and start doing for you, and giving yourself an opportunity to see what's possible, then you're not going to know what you can do. And have hope. Have hope. In 2 months' time, less than 2 months' time, I am going to be heading off for my biggest holiday ever on a cruise. And I never thought that would be possible for me again. I thought that part of my life was gone when I became chronically ill 5 years ago. I didn't even think it was possible that I would ever be able to go on a holiday and cruise again like I had. And it is my favourite thing to do. I've done many cruises. I absolutely love it. And this one, I'm going to end up in Hawaii. So I'll actually get to America. Yay, I can say I've been to America. And it is my biggest one. And I am chronically ill, and I have very limited food that I can eat. And I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm absolutely doing it. I'm doing it with my best friend to celebrate our 60th birthdays. And it's something that we said we were going to do. We were going to have this major holiday, weren't sure where it was going to be, and then I got sick and things happened, and I thought that would never be part of my life again. I thought I would never be able to do something like that, and it's happening, and I can't wait. Can't wait. It's going to be amazing. And that was something that I didn't hope for. And it was only last year when I decided, I feel like I'm well enough now. I believe I can do this. I believe that I can make this happen. I can look at all the issues and I'll be able to manage the food stuff, and I'm not going to worry about the flight. I've got a direct flight back from Honolulu back to Melbourne. It'll be the biggest flight that I've ever done. I'm not the best flyer in the world, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to do it, and it's all going to be okay. I know it's all going to be okay. And I just have trust. I have trust in myself. I've planned everything that I can. And the rest is not up to me. That's up in the hands of fate or God or, whatever you want to call it, that higher power that's looking after everything. So I want to encourage you, if you can't actually have hope, I want to encourage you to open yourself up to possibility, to accept the fact that you do not know what is possible for you and your body until you give your body and yourself that opportunity. And it does require a lot of change, and it does require doing a lot of things differently. And it does feel like a lot of work initially, and it can feel really overwhelming. And it's still worth doing. It's still worth doing. And in the doing, who knows what is possible for you? I didn't know what was possible for me 5 years ago. I didn't know if I would recover. I didn't know if it was going to kill me. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to work again or live independently. And that was a really scary prospect. So I know how it feels looking down that long, dark tunnel when you feel like you've lost yourself. And I found my hope in that practical basis, just that I don't know what's possible for me. And if I change things and I do things radically differently, then who knows what my body can do? Who knows what my life can become? So I want you to have hope. Don't give up on you. There are still things that you can find to enjoy and appreciate in your life, whether you are in bed, whether you're on the couch, whether you're in a wheelchair, whether you're disabled, whether you are like I am, where there are good days and there are days where things can change so rapidly during the day that you don't really know where you are, from nauseous to almost passing out to feeling great to dancing in the kitchen to exhausted to all of those different sorts of things. If you can find that spark of hope, even if you don't want to call it hope, right? Just call it possibility. Just call it possibility. Think about that. All right, think about that. And if there's one thing I want to leave you with this mind shift today, this is what you can do. Instead of focusing on what you don't want, right, what you don't want more of or what you want less of. So instead of saying, I don't want to feel so much pain and I don't want to be crying every day and I don't want to feel so traumatized and I don't want to feel so anxious and I don't want to feel so hopeless, think about what you do want. So start saying to yourself, I want to have more energy. I want to feel more joy in my life. I want to experience more peace. I want to feel more connection in my relationships. I want to feel good about myself. I want to be able to set boundaries for myself. I want to be able to feel closer to my friends. Start focusing on what you want, right? Write it down and then start to think about how you can take little baby steps towards making that happen. So think about what's in the way of that. So if it's, I want to, feel less trauma, or I want to get rid of my trauma, hey, you can always book your free discovery session with me. It's not going to cost you anything. We can talk about the possibilities and I'll tell you exactly how I help people remove trauma and I'll tell you everything involved with it. And then I'll say, yep, here's how much it costs in Australian dollars. And I'll send you all the information by email, and then you have a think about it. You let me know if it's something that you want to do, right? Or if it's, I want to have a closer relationship with my partner, then you've got to think about what's in the way of that now. Are you not sharing how you're feeling with them because you don't want to burden them? Or are you hung up on the fact that you feel like they need to understand how you feel with chronic illness, and that's not going to happen because they can't understand what it feels like because they haven't experienced it. So it means you're going to have to start to talk about things differently. Is what's getting in the way the fact that you actually haven't accepted the fact that you have chronic illness and you're still stuck in grief or denial? You know, when you start thinking about what it is that what you want, then you can start to think about the things that are in the way. And when you can clearly see the things that are in your way, that means you can start to come up with solutions and start working on solutions for that. And you can think about just something simple. What is just something simple that you enjoy that you can do? And it can be as simple as if you've got a favorite like lotion that you like to put on your hands or your skin, that you can have that by your bedside, and you can take 5 minutes to just use that lotion and put it onto your hands and just smell it, like put up to your face and smell it and appreciate how, you know, nice and silky it makes your skin feel, and that what the texture is like and how good it feels to use that. They can be just very, very simple things that can give you that little bit of joy and that little bit of satisfaction. So I'm not talking about having to change great big things. It can be really small things, like if you're feeling guilty that you can't spend that much time with your children, or you can't go to the school and watch them in their sports events, then you can focus on spending, 10 or 15 minutes and let them come into bed with you. And if you can't hold a book to read, if they're old enough, maybe they can read the book to you and they can hold the book and you can help them with that, and just focus on having some cuddles and focus on having that time together. So it can just be moments, because really, if you think about it, moments are all that we have. We're only here in the present moment. We're only here living these moments. That's all it is. So I hope that's been useful to you. Hi, Callie. Thanks for watching. Hi, Laurie. Thanks for watching. If there's any questions on this, please let me know. I know talking about hope is a big trigger, but like I said, use this mind shift tool that I've given you. Instead of focusing on the things that you don't want, start thinking about the things that you do want. Start thinking about the things that you do want to feel rather than the things that you don't want to feel. Think about the things you want more of rather than thinking about the things that you want less of. Have hope. You do not know what's possible for you, okay? And there can always be little moments where you can still enjoy life. So I'll take a quick sip of my tea. It doesn't look like there's any questions. So like I said, this replay will be available on the page. I'm actually in my brain fog state. I've got it right this week. I'm not broadcasting to my personal page like I did last week. So if you've got any questions at any time, please ask them in the comments. I will be downloading this later and adding it on to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And I really do hope this has helped you. And remember, if there's something that you want me to talk about, if you want to stay anonymous, you can always send me a private message. I'll be happy to talk about that next week. And I do this at the same time every week. So thanks, guys, and bye for now.